Chicago, a city known for its architecture, the skyscraper at 1211 North LaSalle Street stands out. This 18-story luxury apartment building has bay windows, a grand entrance arch, and an extravagant rose window. But take a closer look. The ornate architectural flourishes are just a mirage, no deeper than a couple layers of paint.
If you look at it from the east side, you see about 100 and some windows, of which only half of them are real. And you'll see bays sticking out. And there were often stories about when they first came to rent apartments here, they always said they wanted one where the bay windows were. And they were very disappointed when they realized that those bay windows didn't exist in reality.
Richard Haas has been called a magician. Only his magic wand is a paintbrush. For someone who has never seen your work before, how would you describe what you do?
I see myself, first of all, simply as an artist. Secondly, I'm a painter, drawer, printmaker, muralist, and occasional partial city planner.
For 4 decades, he's been a one-man urban renewal project, turning blank walls into artistic treasures. A concrete and metal bunker becomes an elegant neoclassical courthouse. An empty white wall becomes a sunny Miami beach scene with a peekaboo view of the Fontainebleau Hotel.
Richard Haas is an artist about architecture, really. He makes buildings accessible and almost lovable, inviting, makes them things you want to sort of touch and feel and think about.
Paul Goldberger, the architecture critic for Vanity Fair, has followed Haas's work since the 1970s.
He makes people look at architecture, he makes people stop and think about architecture and realize that buildings are not just a backdrop, they're also an active presence in our lives.
So how different was it here back then?
Night and day.
Night and day. Haas created his first public mural in 1975 on a plain wall in New York City's Soho neighborhood, before Soho became synonymous with luxury retailers and art galleries. It was a spot that needed a new image, so Haas showed up with his paintbrush. So most people would walk by a blank wall like that and just kind of not see it. It would just wash over them as a nothing, and you saw something.
I saw this as an opportunity to start to, what I thought, meld the city back together. I think a mural can change the neighborhood in many ways.
How so?
Because it begins to make people aware of what the beauty is that's around them.
This is amazing.
Do you think it makes the neighborhood nicer?
Beyond nice, this is a work of pure fine art.
It looks 3D and like it could actually be it, and it's just so creative and beautiful.
Haas uses a technique called trompe-l'oeil, which in French means tricks the eye. In case you weren't sure, those green windows are an optical illusion. It's a style he first learned about while looking at photographs his parents brought back from their honeymoon in Germany.
And I said, fascinating. It kind of stuck in my head. So then by the time I finally managed to go to Germany, I began to look at these things on a much more involved level.
So you have taken this age-old, centuries-old technique that has been used throughout Europe and brought it here and made it your version of it, an American version.
I brought something back. I didn't invent something, I reinvented something is the way I look at it.
As a child growing up in Spring Green, Wisconsin, Haas aspired to be an architect, in part due to another local boy made good, Frank Lloyd Wright.
I was aware of him and architecture through him, probably from the age of 6 or 7 up.
Haas thought he would follow in his idol's footsteps, but in college, he had a change of heart.
Part of what began to bother me, even when I was out there, was the tedious stuff that you had to do in between those great renderings and drawings that I admired. And I wasn't sure I was ready for a life that was 80% tedium. and maybe 20% the rest.
Haas gradually moved toward painting. But in the dozens of large-scale murals he created over the years, he never lost sight of the architect he could have been.
What I'm thinking about for the 2 new murals, and
at age 77, he's as busy as ever.
Do you think that this dark should be darker?
It could be.
He's in the process of creating 8 new murals in the Chicago suburb of Homewood, Illinois.
Can't say exactly the bigger the better, but that does sort of follow, doesn't it? Kind of dark and blue can come through, you know?
This one-of-a-kind artist, architect, and self-described city planner is still leaving his own unique touch.
Is there something that's what you want your legacy to be, what you want people to know you for and remember you for?
I like the idea, you know, of making enough work that I'm happy with, so that some of it, only some of it, will stick around.